Alright, this video pretty much covers what we've been up to the last 3 weeks. This morning I went out in the garden to take a couple of shots here. You can see sunflowers are starting to open up and they're doing really good. They're the ones that come back every year. And actually yesterday morning I went out and I picked a couple peppers. Now, this has been an unbelievable year for peppers. We just have so many peppers. It's hard to believe. I'm picking some red peppers. We're going to make the roasted red pepper spread that we make. And I do have a video about it, so I'll put a link to that. But you can see just the size and the quantity of these red peppers right now. They're just, we've never had red peppers this early like this. Usually they're about a month later, it seems like. And I think it's from all the sunshine that we've had. We've had nothing but sunshine the whole summer. And then I'm over to pick a couple of the Roma tomatoes to put in the roasted red pepper spread too. So there you can see a bucket of peppers and some tomatoes, and I did grab some basil that goes in it, and my first melon there. So I loaded up the golf cart, picked a couple other things too, and first of the ugly gourds are in now. You can see they're just starting to grow. I found a couple of them too, so it's up to the house to, we're going to do a batch of this spread. And I'll just show you a couple of the steps that we do. But like I said, I'll put a link to the video. Basically, you have to wash all the peppers up and get a nice big onion there and little thing of garlic there. And you need these paper bags. Now, there are other ways to do it. Other people do it. But we use the little paper bag, so. And then get a good hot grill fired up and, just put the peppers on there. And you have to make sure that you kind of burn and scald every square inch of them there. And this gives them some really good flavor. And it also allows the skin to just slide right off when you're done. So once they're all roasted, just throw them in a paper bag. And I can get 5 or 6 at a time in one of these little bags. And, they seem to be a good size for us and they work. And as soon as I take some off, I throw a couple more on until they're all done. This was about 15 pounds of peppers that we used here. And you can see the onions getting really nice. That got really nice and roasted. You just peel off that outer skin when you're done. And then the peppers are about done, and it's time to throw the Roma tomatoes on and have to roast them up a little bit too. Same thing, you go on the grill and just have to keep flipping them around until they get kind of scalded and blistered, and the skin will come right off them later. So a little while later, I've got a couple trays full of bags with the peppers, and these are the lids that I'm using this year. These are from our Amish store. They're bulk lids. There's some of them there. They're a gold color, and supposedly they're better than the ball lid. So I'll tell you once I use them for a while. And they are about the same price. And there's what the peppers look like after you scrape off the skins. And then they go in a food processor with everything and get pureed down and cooked down. And, finally they go into a jar and I make some labels for them and put them down in the root cellar. Now we're going to go back about 3 weeks here. 3 weeks ago here. Start from the beginning. I told you I had ordered some of this Captain Jack's bug dust, and I've got problems with my eggplants. The little flea beetles have been eating the dickens out of them. And I thought this stuff was supposed to help with the flea beetles, but I got some, and I actually dusted a couple times like this. And it's just a little blower that kind of blows the dust out in a fine powder. And you do have to wear a mask. This is supposed to be organic, but you still have to wear a mask because you don't want this stuff in your lungs. So I sprayed the outside of the leaves all over, and I sprayed under the leaves too. And actually, it did absolutely nothing. Didn't slow them down at all. They just kept on going. So I gave up on that. Then the potatoes. I put this one bin of potatoes in, and the plants started to die back. They were really beautiful and tall, and all of a sudden they just started dying back. I think the heat did it to them. So I figured I'd dig them up before something happens. I know they could have used a couple more weeks in the ground, and there really weren't many potatoes. But what I did dig up were really great potatoes. So you can see there's just just a couple of them on each plant. Usually there'd be a lot more. But that's what happens when your plants start dying back. I didn't want any diseases in the garden there, so I figured I'd just get them out. Now you can see they're not really big potatoes or anything, but they are super sweet, great tasting potatoes, and we've been enjoying them. So I just went through and dug up, and that was actually one of the original ones that I had planted there that I threw in the bucket. Some of them just didn't get consumed like they normally do. But you have to try to be careful with the pitchfork so you don't poke too many potatoes, because it does make a mess and ruin them. So that's all the potatoes I got, my little basket, and I'm really happy that I did get some at least. It was a lot more than I planted, so. And I got my first brown sunflower there. Bees have been loving it, but the rest of them all got knocked down by my gourds that I planted. They kind of grew up them and knocked them over, so this is about the best one that I have. So again, I got the golf cart loaded up, and up by the house I got those shallots drying, and I'm trimming off the greens now, and the potatoes are out in the sun for a while to dry up. And I took and I smoked some chicken breasts here to go along with the potatoes I just picked. So some nice smoked breasts and new potatoes. That was a really great meal. And then these beans that had been chewed off by the deer, they had been chewed back to the ground twice when they were small. Actually turned out to be just pretty amazing how much they've been producing. Every couple days we get a small bucket of beans out of them. And there you can see, and squash and stuff too. And every day is another little golf cart full to bring up. And my wife's cleaning the basil now. We picked some of the basil, and she puts it in these containers in the freezer, and it stays really good. And another thing from the garden, and then all the garlic that I had hung in the root cellar several weeks ago. I showed that video about picking it. That's all really nice and dry and ready to be trimmed. So at this point I'm just going to remove the stems off of it. They're all perfectly dry, and you can see it's really, it got a lot lighter too. It's amazing how much weight it loses when you dry them out. So I'm just going to take the stems off and then trim the roots down on the bottom there. And I'll save a couple of the big ones to replant next year too. Actually, it'll only be a couple weeks before they go right back in the ground. So, all these little things have to be taken care of. It's a pretty busy time of the year now. So I took and I dried everything up and I weighed it, and I got just about 15 pounds of potatoes. And then I had 2 baskets of shallots that one was a little over 10 pounds and one was under. So I got about 20 pounds of shallots. And then I just got a little bit over 5 pounds of garlic in the end. So, that was what I got from all the harvest that I had so far. And we did get one day with 1.5 inches of rain, and that was it in the last couple of weeks. So we've been doing a lot of watering, and every day it's another, golf cart trip down to fill it up and bring it up to the house and start to process it. So this was another haul from the garden one day. And this is just a pizza my wife made with just sliced tomatoes and basil on it. I think they call it pizza margarita, and they are really good with a homemade crust on it. And then every couple days, it seems like we've been setting up and freezing up eggplant. My wife breads them and I fry them, and at the same time, I took some of my fresh little potatoes that are super sweet because the sugar hasn't turned to starch yet, and made the best potato chips in the world to go with the eggplant. So that was my snack for the day, and we had to freeze up the rest of the eggplant. And, I've been grilling constantly. There's sausage and peppers on the grill again, and the okra sickles there, I really enjoy them. So now let's take a walk around the garden again, and you can see it's pretty much everything's overgrown now and just starting to produce. And these are those okra plants, and they are just gorgeous. Soaking those seeds really did make a difference. These are the nicest plants I've ever had. You can see the clusters of okra starting on the tops of them there, and they've just been, every couple of days they've been producing, and the small ones go in the grill, and my wife has frozen a couple of the larger ones to make some gumbo with in the winter. And these are the edamames that had been chewed to the ground by the deer, completely gone. And they all made a comeback, and there are just thousands of edamames that should be ready in probably about 2 or 3 weeks. And the beets, we've been, eating thinnings of them all along, but the big ones are ready now. So we'll probably be doing pickled beets in the near future. And again, the carrots are the same thing. And there's my giant marigold stem. That thing's close to 2 inches diameter right now. It's getting big, but the wind did do some damage to it. We've had some pretty high winds lately. And here you can see the eggplants. The plants are terrible. They've been eaten by the flea beetles. I can't get rid of them this year. But every couple of days we do get a basket full of eggplants off them. So they are still producing for the most part. These Rosa Biancas, and these are the other roses, are good. The little fingers in this one, they've actually they've killed the plants, the flea beetles, so they've been no good. So I've just pulled them out anyway. Then the peppers have just been amazing. I mean, I showed you some before, but if you look at these are the California Wonders, and there's like 10 of them on each and every plant that are just giant. It's just unbelievable this year. All the sunshine must really be good for peppers. Same with the natapinos. You can see the plants are loaded, and pretty soon I'm going to try making my first batch of poppers with them, so I'll try to make a video about that when I do that. But there's just pounds upon pounds of natapinos there. And, the Cubanelli, they've been doing really good too. And these are some of the Jimmy Nardellos. They're really super sweet. You can see how red they are. There's just hundreds of them on the plant. And the Habanadas have just started coming in now, so it'll be a couple weeks till I can pickle some of them. They did turn out to be one of our favorites for putting on sandwiches. And these are those Belgium Reds, and you can pick all that you want, and a couple days later they're all loaded with red peppers again. And these are like the Emerald Giants here, and you can see the plants there are, everything's just, never seen it like this before. So it was a good year for peppers, I will say. And then these are the Kunos, and they're just really starting to come in. They're still green, a lot of them. They haven't really started turning yellow and red yet. Now the poor cucumbers have taken a beating from the dryness and the heat. I don't think I've put quite enough water on it, even though I water them often. And these are the Anaheims. There's 4 plants over on the side there that are really getting loaded with peppers now. And there's a basil, and you can see the cilantro has gone to seed. So pretty soon it's coriander. And then I've got my melons that I planted, and they're really starting to come in. They're a lot smaller than they're supposed to be, but I'll show you in the end of this video. They're really pretty good. There's a bunch of them, all ready to go. And the dill has got the flowers on it now, and you can see the bugs have kind of done in the cucumbers back there. And my strawberry popcorn is just, it's only supposed to be about 5-6 feet tall. Well, it's over 8 feet tall this year, and the wind has really broken off a lot of them and knocked them down and stuff, so not really sure how the harvest is going to be on that. And these were some of the zucchinis in a bed there, and actually I finally pulled them out right after taking this video because I just have had too many zucchinis. Then all the tomatoes and sunflowers around the outside. Turned out these sunflowers aren't what they were supposed to be. I'll show you that in a little while. But you can see like the aromas are, the plants are really, they're not really that big a plant, but they're really loaded with aromas here. The Amish paste right there, all the plants have died back. They produced a bunch of tomatoes, and then the plants have just started dying off. So I'm thinking that it's got something to do with the weather. And the tomatoes were actually good. And I did show you, and I know that are Bonnie's Best. We're getting a ton of them now, but I did show you that there was some deformity in the tomatoes when they started growing. And it turns out we planted another batch up by the house in old compost, and they have the exact same deformity, so it must have been in the seed stock. I wonder if the seed stock in the past had been, kind of crossed with something else, but, so it wasn't just the ones in the garden. And there you can see the little Principes. They really started taking off, and we've been dehydrating a lot of them. And the plants are getting beat now. It's near the end of the season, and all this heat is doing them in. And then these black brandywines. Oh, we've had a ton of these things. We get like 6, 7 of them every day. They're just so big and so juicy and so tasty. Yeah, you see, they're just loaded with those things. So they've been doing good. And then our Paul Robesons did the same thing. They grew tomatoes, and then after the first batch, the plants died back, and that was it. So, I'm not sure what happened with them, but the tomatoes were actually good. And you can see these sunflowers that were supposed to be 5 feet tall are actually up to about 8 feet tall now. And, a quick look out at the sunflowers coming out in the garden. So just about every other day we get a batch of tomatoes just about like this to deal with. So, it does keep us busy. And this is a batch of Principes going in the dehydrator. They're really a wonderful tomato. We use them in a lot of pasta dishes. And there's the eggplant Parmesan that just came out of the oven. That was a real good one. Now, this is a couple of the melons that I grabbed. I've been picking them as they fall off the stem. Actually, a animal ate the first one. Something got in there and ate it. But since then, we've had luck and no more animals. So they do have an amazing aroma when you cut them open. It's just really nice. You can see just how juicy they are and tender. And I like to use a grapefruit spoon there to get the seeds out. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna let you watch me clean this one here, and I'm getting ready to take a good bite out of it, because they really are good. They're not a super sweet melon. They're kind of like the melony tasting ones I used to get when I was a kid. They've they're a little bit sweet, but they're just not over sweet. They're really just perfect. So they taste really good when you just put them in the fridge, get them nice and cool, and then just slice them up like this and, eat them. So that was a successful year for the melons. So now in the end, I'm just going to, take a couple of shots here looking at it from up in the air. I figured I'd show you. I did this just a couple hours ago, so I figured I'd show you exactly what it looks like now. You can see that one area is all overgrown with the sunflowers and the squash and the pumpkins and butternuts, and you see them getting some of the bins cleaned out now, and the potatoes are gone, the onion, the shallots, the garlic, and some of the stuff like the cukes are dying back and getting ready to be pulled out. And tomatoes will be done in another couple weeks too, and pretty much it'll be over soon. And there you can see that that first sunflower that opened up. Now they're supposed to be little short puffy things, and it turns out they're just a standard 8-foot tall single flower sunflower. So somebody at Baker Creek got the seeds screwed up and wound up charging me twice as much as they should have for them, I think. So there's what it looks like now. Basically been very dry this year. We've been just constantly trying to keep up with watering it. And the main garden there, and then that other area up there, you can see right next to it, there's a lot of weeds. It's been too hot to go out there and just do anything in the sunshine. But, up behind there, all the pumpkins and squash and butternut stuff are growing. And then my grapes are off to the right there, that little row. You can see the grass is really kind of dying back and just about gone. Just the one spot south of our septic system is green over there on the left. And here you can see the sunflowers are just pretty amazing. And I have to warn you that did kill a sunflower making this video. You'll see it in a second, but I was just trying to get close to them as I could and just kind of buzz around to give you an idea. Most of these just came back on their own. They, they're seeds that the birds spread around last year. And they just so many bees. We just have thousands of bees on them this year. It's really great. And one thing I found out was, kind of watching where this thing's going on a little 5-inch screen. It looks like you're going to clear something, and all of a sudden, you got a problem. Well, I will say, it didn't turn into too much of a problem. I picked it up and, it took right off again. But if you notice that one sunflower in the middle there, that was one of those giant ones with the big head on it. Well, it's gone. I did take the head completely off it without doing any damage, so I can't imagine what these things could do if they ever hit you. But, you learn from your mistakes, and I got to get a phone with a bigger screen next time, I think. But anyhow, you can see there's all the butternuts. There's quite a few of them down in there, and I won't really know how many until, I get in there and the plants die back and it's ready to pick them. And some of those sunflowers I planted there, the big ones, they're just pretty amazing. They're probably about 12 to 14 foot tall. And then I just thought I'd do a quick spin around and, go up about 100 feet, show you exactly, how quiet it is up here. It's mostly farm fields in the area. And, that's basically it. There's really not much around us. Just a couple houses up this one road. So, it's, everything really has done really good this year. We've been spending an awful lot of time every night kind of watering stuff and trying to keep it growing and everything. But, in the end, it's all worth it with the big harvest that we've been seeing. Only a couple things like the potatoes that didn't turn out that great. And, the eggplants that I can't kill the flea beetles on this year for some reason. But pretty much everything else has really done good. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.